I'm Francine Lacqua, and I'm delighted to be joined by Vera de Sousa, the Finance Minister of Angola, to talk about the country and, of course, the prospects for the future. So, Minister, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here with you, Francine.
Minister, the government is planning to ask for a new IMF program once the current program ends at the end of the year. Is that so?
Francine, we are evaluating our options. We are discussing with the IMF team and within the government which options we have after this program to end. We are looking to the pros and cons of moving with a program or only with technical assistance, or only with the surveillance under the Article 4. We are evaluating all these options, and before the end of the year, we will have a clear vision of which way we will follow.
So, Minister, how will you actually decide? Is there a certain criteria? Is it a matter of how expensive or how cheap it will be, or is it other factors taken into account?
It's more a matter of which solutions match better with our actual needs. We are evaluating what are our circumstances now and which shape of cooperation, because we still want to work together with IMF. It's a matter to understand which kind of engagement we will have.
Minister, what is the government's growth forecast for 2021?
We are expecting a stagnation, zero growth, but we are seeing the oil productions performing worse than that we are expecting. So let's see if we will have a recession again. Hopefully not. At the best scenario, stagnation. At the worst scenario, a slight negative growth.
Do you expect the recent increase in oil prices to have a positive impact on spending, though, and overall economic growth in Angola?
The two effects works together: the increase on the oil production and the decrease on the increase on oil price and the decrease in oil production. Let's see how they will work together and what will be the final result of it in the growth. Regarding the expenditures, we need to keep being as more conservative as possible to create a buffer, but for sure we need also to take care of buying vaccines. Is something that we need to expend some money, and also make sure that the projects that are near to an end, that we are able to pay them to have these infrastructures available to our population. Those are our three main goals regarding a potential buffer that we will create with the difference in between the oil price.
What are you expecting in the price of oil going forward? At the moment, we see huge energy price surges across the world. This could be also, lead to some kind of economic shock. From where you're looking at it, what does it look like?
This market is so volatile that is difficult to foresee a movement, but we are seeing a lot of advanced economies with high rates of vaccination, the economies starting to recover. So probably we will see a market where the price will keep a trajectory that it's not so low, but a price above $6 or $70 per barrel probably is something that it's not impossible. But I don't think that this movement of high prices will take so long. So for the countries that are oil producers, that they need to keep their focus and still being conservative, despite this high movements that we are seeing, because I really do not believe that we will see a price for so many times higher than $80 per barrel. So we need to do our maths counting on a more conservative price. And this is what Angola intend to do, because we already start preparing our budgets for 2022, and we will be as more conservative as possible, defining the oil price that we will use as reference for our budget.
Minister, Moody's also on September 13th raised its rating for Angola for the first time since 2015, citing improved governance and prompting the nation's Eurobonds to surge and yields to drop. Given the improved outlook and lower funding costs, are you considering selling Eurobonds this year or in 2022?
That was great news for us. We are truly happy with that. We saw the results of the hard work that we are doing regarding the structural reforms that we are implementing, regarding the proactive debt management that we are putting in place, the fiscal consolidation, the free float regime on the exchange rate. So we did it a lot in very difficult circumstances. So we are happy that Moody's recognized all this package of reforms and measures, upgrading our rating. For sure, we are evaluating the best moment to move on and to issue Eurobonds is something that was out of our agenda, but with this in short term, out of our agenda in the short term. But with this upgrade, we are now looking again to it to understand the best moment to go to the market in the short term. So it's something, yes, that we are evaluating.
And at this point, do you think that it would make more sense this year or to wait a bit?
It's the decision that we need to take. And we will also ask the opinion of the IMF, because we have the program till the end of the year, and we will ask them their opinion about the best moment to go, if even this year or only the next year. So we are discussing internally, and we will also count on the technical assistance of IMF regarding this matter.
Do you know the size of how much you want to sell already?
Not yet. We will depend on our fiscal space. We do not want to do something that is more than that our ability to still being totally confident about our debt sustainability. So we will consider also this, and probably because of this, next year would be better than this year. But we are analyzing, and we will decide this as soon as possible.
Minister, but you're confident that there's enough demand for these kind of products? And again, does it make a difference if there's a second IMF program attached to it? Or, as long as there are guarantees or something like that, you think appetite for those products will be the same?
For sure, the markets and the international community will always be more confident if they know that we're still working with IMF. It's a fact. This is a fact, and we are aware of it. Because of this, we want to keep working with the IMF, not only because we want to attract the interest and the interest of the potential investors, but because we truly believe that the working with the IMF, the cooperation with them is really useful, and we are seeing the results and the effects of it in our macroeconomic indicators. So it's our own interest to keep working with them. What we need to define now is how we will work together. And for sure, at the end of the day, the reflex would be in our own economy, and our figures, our numbers, and our performance will talk to itself. And the international markets will understand that we're still committed to get the best performance as possible in our economy.
Minister, Angola has also been carrying out very ambitious privatization program that includes the sale of stakes in some of the country's actually biggest companies, including state-owned oil company Sonangol, the diamond company Ndiama. Has this privatization program so far succeeded in attracting foreign investors to Angola?
Yes, more local than foreigners. But we are seeing a lot of international interest, especially when we are talking about inviting the investors to manage the assets. Regarding buying the assets, we are getting less interest. But when the contract is to manage an asset for a period of time, with option of buying it off after this period, we are getting a lot of interest coming from abroad. So we already privatized 41 assets. So we are happy. For sure, we could do more, but we are doing it in a moment where all the economies start recovering. So we are not seeing so much liquidity, and doing this through this moment, I think it's quite remarkable. We still 97 assets to sell or to contract hired management, and we intend to do it in the next 1 to 2 years. And we really expect that with the international recovery of the economies, with more people being vaccinated, and with this upgrade also from Moody's, this is something that also counts regarding the interest and the confidence of the investors. Probably we will see more offers coming, and also the price, the final price of selling those assets being more positive for us.
Are there any concrete examples, maybe of foreign companies interested in potentially investing in Angola?
Yes, we saw it. We saw it on some farms. We saw interest coming from Latin America, and at the end of the day, a Latin America entity buy a farm to explore. We saw interest coming from South Africa for a local bank, and a bank that was totally state-owned, and is something that is moving. We didn't saw the final result yet. It was a public tender. And we saw also interest coming from Europe for an insurance company. The process was not finalized yet. For a huge supermarket with different stores, we saw also interest coming from Europe. So yes, we are seeing some good examples, and let's see if the final result would be good for both parts.
Angola is also scheduled to hold general elections next year. The current president is expected to run. So is the government preparing, Minister, to announce big spending projects ahead of the election, as has been the case with previous elections in 2017 and 2008?
Angola is huge, and we have a huge lack of infrastructures. We are always trying to do as much as possible, as quicker as possible. Of course, we can do much more when we have fiscal limits, when we have small revenues, when we have small capacity of get more debt. So it's not easy to see people needing to get access to electricity, to water, to roads, and we and we are not being able to provide this. So it's not an easy task. So as soon as we see the financial condition improving, we try to do more. If the financial conditions do not permit us to do so, we need to do less. So it's a matter of money available to do the infrastructures, and not really a matter of elections, in my perspective. So with the oil price increasing, let's see what will be possible to do next year. If we see a movement against us, we will need to shrink the budget, and that would be the reality that we need to deal with.
But is there a risk, or do you perceive a risk that these elections can actually derail your ability, the finance ministry's ability, to continue to cut spending and repay debt to creditors?
That's always a pressure. As Minister of Finance, I used to say that I'm not properly the most, how I say in a good way, I'm the no woman. I'm the no woman.
You keep the purse strings.
It's not easy to say no all the time. So I need to manage this, the balance in between get things done and the importance of also protects our indicators and avoid the fiscal deficits. So I'm always managing that pressure coming from all over the places. I will keep doing my best to defend our budget, our fiscal accounts. The pressure will never end. As I mentioned, the country is huge, and that's a lot of needs, a lot of expectations. The Angolan people are waiting for so many years for getting the best access to social services. So it's not easy to resist. Each day is a difficult day to move with the velocity that do not harm too much our account. I will keep doing my part, and that God help me through this path.
Minister, finally, when you look at the pandemic over the last 18 months, what do you need from the world economy now to make your job a little bit easier? Is it getting better, or are we still really in the middle of the storm?
We're still in the middle of the storm, because we are not being able to vaccinate the people as quicker as we should. Because of a lot of factors, but the first one and the most important one is the access to vaccines. It's quite hard to have access to them, to buy them in quantity that it's good enough, big enough for our population, and also at a good price. So it's a difficult equation, but we'll keep seeking it. We will keep knocking all the doors to get that access to the best price as possible. And while this do not happen, we will need to manage with the measures to sometimes close more the economy and ask to close some services. The tourism is suffering a lot because of that, but we need to do it to avoid that. We save as much lives as possible.